Mm, that's the sound bite right there. I'm taking that little piece. I'm putting in the beginning as a teaser so they make sure to follow through. No, but that is so true. I hope somebody really gets lifted. I mean, you can't help but get lifted from what you just said. It flows out of you, and that's your purpose, because I can tell you one thing that I know for a fact. I mean, I'm no guru. I can't read minds, but there are so many hurting people out here. There's so many people who are hurting and in pain, and they don't have a clue on how to get out of it. They don't have a clue because the world has lied to them and told them what the right way is. That if you follow this particular religion, you will get the answer. No. You have to move over to a different sect of that same religion. Or try this church, or try that synagogue, or try that mosque. And they're lost. And they don't know. And as a bus driver, and I like to say that because I am not just that. That is how I make a regular paycheck in this oppressive system. But I'm saying it because I know I'm more than that. But that's my present manifestation. So we have to understand where we are. And when we understand where we are, we have to understand too that there's something that we have to do where we are. And I've understood long ago that these jobs that I've had, whether it was in the prison or the jail or driving the bus, it always puts me in front of other people, lots of people. And I have this gift that helps to filter out the bad situations and energies, but it's there so I can identify the good. And you yourself, you have an awesome mission, because look at the age that you are and how much flows out of you, that now you understand why you went through so much pain, because down through the years to come, the pain that you went through will be validated in the lives that you save. And we know it's the Most High. I'm not saying you're saving lives like you're the one who's going to hit somebody on the head and they're going to see, and the lame can walk and the deaf can hear. But in a sense, yes, because you are an extension of the Most High. So why not? Why not? Because somebody has to do it, and you're submitting to righteous law. Your thoughts, your intentions, what you feel, it's keeping you in that place. You've healed me. I pop your videos and I look at them like, whoa, she said that directly to my heart. You're saying things that you don't even realize the effect of it on people. And that's how, and that's why we have to walk a certain way, because we just don't know who's observing. We can see the people who are right in front of us who say, yes, thank you for telling me that. But we don't see oftentimes those who are overhearing it, or who are just observing you. There's that little girl somewhere that has an abusive mother who despises that little girl because of the potential that she has to grow up and take part of the opportunities that are here in the world where the mother didn't have. So sometimes she feels down, but she just might be skipping rope in her yard. And you might just decide to walk down the street, to walk to the supermarket, or just walk through the neighborhood, and the smile you gave her while you sung a song under your breath and felt so positive, fed into that little girl of what she can be because of the example of who you are. In passing, because so many people out here are so hungry just for that small morsel, that minuscule morsel of positivity and God essence. Like a person walking across the desert who was so thirsty, they see the mirage of a glass of iced tea that's not there, but you're really there. So your every step is being monitored. And it's like this world is a play and you're an actress.
That's very true.
You see? You're
And
always
I
being
wanna
observed.
speak-
Go ahead, sweetheart.
I want to speak to the person who feels alone. I want to speak to the person who may be having some sort of alcohol addiction, some sort of drug addiction,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of sexual problem. What I want to say to you is there's nothing that you cannot overcome once you set your mind. Once you accept responsibility for your behavior, once you recognize that you are not a victim of your circumstances. Your past is your past. If your yesterday was crummy, that was yesterday. Move forward today. This is coming from a person who is almost 500 pounds, 485, 95 pounds to be exact,
Mm-hmm.
who suffered depression her whole life, 2 nervous breakdowns. I don't have the best relationship that I would want with my family. I spent a lot of time as a loner, being by myself. But as a loner, I took trips by myself. I didn't just stay in a room in my apartment. I went out and explored life. I'm not at where I want to be at in my life right now. None of us are perfect. I don't have the career that I want, but I will have it one day. What I'm saying to you is once you make up in your mind that you are worthy, that you are here for a purpose, there's nothing that can stop you. I don't care if it was a parent. I don't care if it was someone who abused you. No one can steal your identity and what Christ, our Father in heaven, I say, has called you to this earth to be. I'm not a religious person. I am a spiritual person. But there are some things that you must learn by yourself. You have to be set apart and on the narrow path, because the path that's not narrow is going to be full with junk, emptiness, empty people, empty dreams, empty decisions that are going directly to the grave with no achievement, no accomplishment in life. And no, you don't go after the accomplishments and the achievements that the world say, the fancy car, the fancy house. You go after what you were divinely created to be. Once you make peace with yourself, accept responsibility, then you can walk in that. No, our jobs don't define us. The amount of money in our bank accounts don't define us. But you still can be a blessing. You still can be a healing, and you still can be a powerful force in this life. Person who I'm speaking to, decide to believe in yourself and free yourself from those negative thoughts, those negative perceptions, the way the world is. Create your own divine life. Eat healthy. Think healthy. And keep yourself from people who do not honor you. You, person, whoever you are very valuable, and you are here for a reason. You are not forgotten. You could be the person that's still homeless. You could be the person that's stripping tonight, 2 o'clock in the morning. You could be the person that's working at Bojangles. You are not forgotten. So don't you dare forget yourself. The world will try to make you forget yourself. The enemy will try to make you forget yourself. Don't you dare forget yourself. I don't care if your mother forgot you, your father forgot you, your friends forgot you. Don't you dare forget yourself.
Warrior Constance, you know what? I love you. That's all.
Too, Lance.
That's all I can say. Because you saying that and sharing that, because you know what? You spoke directly to me, because there was a stretch of years where I almost lost myself in these realities that we find ourselves in. You know, after my mother passed away, I thought I was straightening up my life from my older wild days, and I plunged myself into a marriage that was reactionary because I took a loss. And I won't say bad things about the other person, but I tried my best, and I found myself in a situation where I was being constantly hurt. And because I craved family so much, I craved that sense of, not just I want kids, because I did, but I want to reconstruct something that's mine.
Yes.
Because I took the loss of my parents, and I felt like my world was being reduced, and I didn't know where I was. It's like I need people of mine around me.
Yeah.
And as the years went by, and I realized that the feeling wasn't mutual, that it was an opportunistic thing. And I'll get into the details of that another time. I do have kids, and I don't want to hurt them by using this platform to throw out specifics that they may not understand, but I can tell my part of it, okay, and my perception. But when I realized that I felt like I was being used, I felt like I was a gravy train to a point, a workhorse or whatever, and I would be written out of my children's life, and at one point when the emotional abuse started to happen for years, many years, many years, you keep giving and giving and giving, and a person takes, but they give you scraps back. And then there's no more scraps. Then you realize what it is. And one of the most hurting things that in my life that I still struggle with was when she told me in an argument, because I'm a peaceful, quiet person. Leave me alone. I'm going to blog. I'm going to write. I'm going to draw. That's me. Growing up and all of that. And to this day, look at what we're doing now. Something worthwhile. Mm-hmm. But she told me, and these are the words that hurt me the most in my life that anybody ever told me. She says, "Oh, you think you have family. You don't even have any family." That it's like, so my kids are not even mine. You know what I mean? Like I know they are, but how could you say that when you are dealing with somebody who, I went through my depressions and I went through my nervous breakdown in August of 2003. Exhausted. I worked myself 16-hour days on end. When I was working at the jail, they even bent some of the rules and policies on how much you can work to work around certain things. For example, you could only work so many 16-hour days when we were on 8-hour shifts in a row. You could only work so many in a row. I had supervisors who saw that I worked an 8-hour shift and they would give me 7 hours instead of making it up to 16 through giving me 8. And then I would bounce in a club on a weekend. Home wasn't home for me. I just generated money and came home sometimes to sleep. But as long as I saw that in the garbage that they had new toys, the packages and the wrappings, and I saw the good food they ate in the sink, at the scraps, like, okay, they ate good, they did this, and I'm okay. I had 1 hour sleep, 2 hours sleep. That was my life. Fatigue and pain. Hard work, fatigue, and pain, and a yearning beyond what any inmate could feel for a taste of freedom. Yet I was physically walking around free. And the emptiness that you have and the void, and you're working hard and getting nowhere. You love your kids, but you know what's coming. that you're one day going to be out of their life because of the people whispering in the ears of your mate and how they resented you for providing not just money, but that presence that their children didn't have, unfortunately. So to know that ahead of time and being an empath who at that time wasn't always clear with the gift, and you work yourself hard because you're on fire. Like the little example that I used of the old man sitting on the steps who lived next door to a lake. And there was a guy next door to him that ran out of the house so fast, past the house. And when the guy came back around and saw the old man said, "Hey, you need to go and be in the Olympics. Surely you'd set a record." And the guy who ran past him said, "You didn't notice, but I ran and jumped in the lake." The old man said, "Why?" The younger dude said, "'Cause I was on fire." So I was working hard, not because, yes, I'm a hard worker, but it wasn't just the work. It was an escape. It was because I was on fire with this pain.
Can I say something?
Sure. Jump in.
I just wanted to say that it's the enemy that used her to block you from your blessing, but it didn't work. All it did was push you, and it's going to continue to push you to your highest self, for you to ascend and to continue to be a blessing and continue to be successful. Her words were meaningless. Her words were meaningless. Her words were vain. Her words served no purpose. Her words were not nutritious. They were irrelevant. Since they were irrelevant, that's the only way to see them.
Yes.
See, when the enemy can manipulate and trick us into getting into certain situations, he can derail your path. He can derail your ascension. But you were that warrior, as you continue to be. You were able to get through that situation, and you were able to ascend and learn. Everything that you need healing from, you shall receive. And one day, your children will truly see. They will truly, truly see. And you'll have, I'm not sure what your relationship with them now, what it is now, but you don't have to have hopes that they'll understand that you are a good person, that you love them to the best of your ability. You don't have to have hopes in that, because that will, if it has not been, it shall be revealed. Continue on doing what you are called to do. Continue on reaching out the way that you do. Continue on loving regardless, because everything has a divine purpose far beyond our comprehension. So since we can't comprehend everything that goes on in our life, all the mistakes we made, the decisions we made, since we cannot fully comprehend or fully understand, it is up to us to make peace with the Most High and continue on with strength, love, and courage. It's okay, because her existence in your life was only a lesson. The negativity that she brought on is not going to affect who you will continue to be as you continue to grow and continue to learn. Tell your story. There are several men out there. The reason why I'm glad you brought this up again is because it touched me to my core. I just kept thinking about it from the last time we spoke. And then I would listen to the message, and it just hurt me. I could feel the heaviness and the pain, and I could feel a sense of maybe regret or something.
Yes.
Whatever it is, make peace. Make peace. You are free to make complete peace, because everything is used to the glory of our Father in heaven. Every situation. She cannot tell you what family you don't have, Because, see, family is spiritual. Family is spiritual. We are family.
Yes.
I said Lance is like my brother, like my older brother in Christ.
Thank you.
But, you know, we are family. Family is spiritual. Family is not necessarily the bloodline that you came from, but family are those who you connect with spiritually, who respect you and lift you up and encourage you, help you to develop along your way.
You're right.
That's what family is. And everything that you remember from your mother and father, let that continue to motivate you, continue to inspire you so that you can ascend and be who you were supposed to be. And in due time, as Ecclesiastes says, everything will happen in this right time, so relationships will be mended in due time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sister. I you know, it's like I referred to the inner child, and I've said that before in my videos. But that little boy in me that's still there, like, you know, you see the big tree that you used to climb and it has so many more branches on it now, but you still see that one little branch that you used to climb that seemed like it was 30 feet in the air, and you realize, and it's like, man, this is just like 5 feet off the ground. That branch is still there. So that little boy, I'm not saying during the marriage I was a little boy, but that little boy who, you see, when I was younger, I already knew like certain things. It was so weird when I look back. You know, I have a drug addicted brother who I always yearned for the brotherly friend, relationship with him, but it was off and on. And he wasn't always, he was more on than off. But the times that he was off the drugs and I can connect with him, it was just so beautiful and funny and fun. And I've always yearned for that. And I've always yearned for that. And this is why I think, for me, when I see someone who's heavily into their addiction and they're arrogant with it or in denial, I admit I get angry, because it reminds me of how drugs took my brother away from me. And he's still alive now. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen him since 1998 in the street by chance. By chance. And I wanted to make a permanent connection. And this was in Midtown Manhattan. And this was actually on 29th Street and 6th Avenue. There's McDonald's there. At least it was there. Very busy street. And I was on a public phone, and I saw him coming across the street. Before that, the last conversation we had was 4 years before that, in 1994, right after my mother passed away, about 7 or 8 weeks, when, I don't know if I told you this before, he had called up to find out if he got any money. And I told him, I said, he called me, like everything was okay. And I said to him, I said, you heard about mommy? I said it that way on purpose. And he said, oh yeah, I heard about her. Do I have any money? And he was more concerned about whoever was next to him. And he said that. And I didn't know what to feel. That this is all it comes down to. And it showed me how the drugs and part of him, I didn't know what proportion it was, but damn, you don't even care about me. Who cares about me? I used to, and I got a lot of love as a child, but it was almost like I could sense the loneliness from the future that I was going to feel come back in time to me as a child. It's a very abstract thought.
Lance, you don't know how much I can relate to that statement.
Let me tell you, I used to play this song. And again, over all of this, I want to say I had a wonderful childhood. My parents gave me much love and support, positivity, wisdom that was to grow. They didn't just put wisdom in me, and I knew the wisdom, but they planted the seeds, right? But I used to go, I was very much an extrovert and an introvert as I am now on both sides. I could be the life of the party. I have the energy of a, I'm like an energizer bunny too, right? You could lock me in somewhere and say, don't come out for a month. And I'm cool with that too. Just give me a piece of paper and a pencil, maybe a computer. And if not, I'll do something creative, right? But the other side that people don't know is that back in the 70s growing up, on my introverted side, I had a crude set of weights that I used to lift. I used to have my pens and my pencils and my art materials, and I would draw. And I was heavy into music. I would go and buy the records, the 45s, for $1 or less. And I had crates of music, and I would listen to all these songs. And because I grew up in a musical family, I had maybe a little more appreciation for different types when I would play the radio. But out of nowhere, and I wondered why I was like this, I used to play the song by Sister Sledge, Somebody Loves Me. And the words would go, how can I believe that somebody loves me? And I would say to myself, why am I thinking like this? Because I know my mother loves me and I feel it. My father loves me and I feel it. I know my brother doesn't hate me. He's just into his drugs. I'm like, where's this coming from?
It was a seed from the enemy.
Yeah.
It was a seed because what he does is, just as the Lord works on affirming us as we are growing, even before we are in the womb, even when we're in the womb, the enemy works on creating a disaster and planting as many terrible seeds in your life from childhood, hoping that that will blossom as you are an adult. It is up to us with our faith to wrestle with those seeds and win. But also remember that we've already overcome. So there, just like those seeds that you're talking about, there were plenty seeds attached to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to everything you're saying, especially knowing that there was going to be a certain level of loneliness when I was a child in my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
But when we recognize that there were seeds, when we can see what those seeds are, now we have the opportunity to know that it was all an illusion, it was all a lie. So we have the opportunity to make peace with that, to make peace with every... I remember when I went to church one time, not church, Bible study, a lady said, you have all these words planted on your forehead. And it was fear, rejection, and all that stuff. She told me that several years ago. And don't you know I still struggle with those things?
Wow.
I still struggle with it, but I know that I'm overcoming them.
Yes.
So I know that they're not like holding me back, but I still struggle with those things because of those seeds from when I was a child.
It's a process.
But it doesn't stop me.
No, it doesn't.
You know?
It's a process because I'm not going to say I struggle. It's in its place where it belongs.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I find myself back in that room playing that record. And this is why I've learned about myself, why I try so hard to be a friend, to be a real friend. Not trying that I'm fake and I'm trying to be, but I am, but I want you to know. And I'll go to the ends of the earth. And this is why when I hear music, and not just the foolish stuff, yeah, we can move our body and make jokes, and I'm a big comedian, yes. But when I hear a song like Ain't No Mountain High Enough,
yes,
the original version and the Jocelyn Brown version, and in actuality, that was the song that I did my posing routine to in April of '85 in my last competition.
mm-hmm.
And the way I choreographed that routine and put emotion into it wasn't even about muscles, right? I was ahead of my time that way. I didn't get any applause. And I was like, what the heck is... And afterward, people were like, we just had to look because You put so much emotion into that. We never saw nothing like that before in our life. Now, my body was not like the guys who were in the open competition who I was now competing against, who were on drugs and on steroids, but they knew there's something I was trying to convey that was special. And that song, I love that. There's another song by Alexander O'Neill, What's Missing.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said he'll swim the ocean in a hurricane, you know, those things that you do against all odds, that's how I love. And so when I know somebody really loves me, I'll give my life for them. I'll give everything for them because it means so much to me. There's so much out here. There are so many women out here, even now. Lance, if you ever come to Minnesota, you have to stay with me. Lance, if you ever come to Jacksonville or Compton or Arizona, all of those whispering spirits. And see, when I was a younger man, I had what many would say my wild days, but let's break it down even more than that. And I know many men would understand. I really wasn't enjoying myself. I was really trying to fill that void of the little boy who played that song. How can I believe somebody loves me?
You can't. And can I say something?
Sure.
When you spoke about the song, I don't want to cut off your point.
No, we're flowing.
The void. But I started thinking about something. I know that you know about music and you know about the different tones in music.
Yes.
What do you call it? Like the megahertz?
Mm-hmm.
Some things affect us on a spiritual level. And I was just thinking about maybe that song played a part in the way in your subconscious mind.
It did.
Maybe that song also attributed. I don't want to get into the Illuminati stuff in the music, but they do things over the masters.
Yes.
Like,
they pray over it.
Over a lot of the masters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you say just now?
Yeah, they pray over it. And it has to have, it goes into your mind and you absorb it. And this is why, like even with me, I'm very receptive to music. And when it was time to go to the gym and train, when we were really, and my friend Mike Scott can tell you, we would mentally work ourselves up to a frenzy where we would push our bodies beyond anything you could ever imagine. Okay, we hung out with guys in the gym and we didn't hang out with them. We were around them, right? Now you see guys who are taking steroids and sniffing coke to push harder, and it cuts back on their appetite, and they're taking other substances to push, and they got these drugs in them. I kept up with those guys. I didn't look like those guys, but I look really good for me being natural. But our goal was to keep up with those guys. And we did. And so the music that we would play, again, we understood that playing music to relax ourselves was one thing, but playing music to drive yourself literally in a controlled insanity was another. In the thoughts that you think, using that imagination to push yourself and actually believing the mental scenarios that you put in your head to push yourself even more.
It's the music is spiritual. So, and I listened to some things about just the different tones in music,
mm-hmm.
the different the way the tones and things affect you. So we have to think about it as the spirit that's producing that.
Yeah.
And there's demonic entities attached to a lot of this music.
Yes.
And it's kind of like people don't understand why they're doing certain things, but they're playing out these demonic influences are basically tempting them to think and feel a certain way about their life or to do certain things. So because it's so influential and you were a child, I am just believing that this song played into something that the enemy wanted to basically forecast your life with.
And it allowed me to be promiscuous like that and feel inadequate and
wow.
It wasn't a promiscuous where I was a predator. It was like I'm a pleaser.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I felt validated if I pleased. It wasn't even about me. I was an empath on a sexual level.
Mm.
And that put me in different situations where it's a blessing for me to have a clean bloodstream right now and be alive. But one thing you said about those demonic influences and it hit me hard. I didn't think of it that way. I just thought of it as a motivational thing. There were certain songs
Their spirits
that
are attached to the song.
Mm-hmm.
I watched several videos on about the masters and all that kind of stuff, but that stuff is true. That stuff is very, I'm sorry, it's very deep.
Oh, no. We're flowing. We're flowing. It's just that I'm so enthusiastic that we're here at this place right now in the conversation because I'm about to go deeper.
Yeah.
Now.
I want to say one more. Oh,
go ahead.
I want to say, as you said earlier, because I talked about me still struggling, I want to say that if anybody out there, we all struggle, right? But when you struggle or when you're working yourself through something to recovery, to healing, please face it. And please be willing to get some sort of help for yourself, whether it be counseling, whatever you're doing, whatever the Most High tells you to do in order to heal yourself, in order to get yourself on the road of recovery, please face it.
Yes.
Because I thought that I was in certain places, and I have healed from a lot of things, but there's still things I'm holding on to. Acknowledge it, people. That's what I'm doing right now. I am acknowledging. I've been acknowledging, but acknowledge what you're going through so that you can have a peaceful life. You can have a permanent life. I just want to say that because a lot of my life I've spent not acknowledging my feelings, not acknowledging the things that hurt me, and it only held me back.
Wow. You can't break down the issue or deal with the issue if you don't acknowledge it. It's like those bills that are on the dresser that are piling up that one won't acknowledge because they lost their job and they figure if they put their head in the sand that the bills will go away. And it weighs down on them when things start to get cut off or things begin to get lost, taken back. But when you get in the position to take care of those bills and you face them, you realize that it wasn't as bad as you thought. Now, not acknowledging that makes it worse. It's like when I was a little kid and if I had a blazer or a jacket hanging up on a coat hanger in the room, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and that was like a headless man with my imagination. So I would duck and pull the covers over my head and get scared. And so I got old enough and realized, let me take this thing down. I don't want to see it because I'll dream and think it's something. Put the light on and see it for what it is and take it down. Take control. Now I understand that it may not always be that easy. And sometimes you have to come back at it. It's not like, well, I heard Warrior Constant say this and I went and it was all over. But instead of taking 10, 15, 20 years to face it, by actively going at it and coming back, when you have the emotional, spiritual resources, it may take a year and a half. It may take 6 months. But you got to realize that with these things that we don't acknowledge, it's like trying to run a race, a foot race, but you have a knapsack with 100 pounds or 250-pound plates in there. It's going to make it harder for you to win the race or even enjoy it because you have unnecessary weight that's on you. See? And we begin sometimes to get involved in certain things that take us away from it, but we think it's healthy. And again, bodybuilding was that for me. You know, there are a lot of things that I didn't want to acknowledge. And I had a lot of rage in me because now the world looked at me different. And this is a black male thing. Not that you can't feel this, Warrior Constance. I'm just saying that a lot of black males, when they're in school, elementary school, and told how life is. Now, my parents prepared me properly, but it only softened the blow because one day I was a adorable, handsome little boy. And it seemed like the next day, I'm a monster.
Wow.
Worse when I got muscles. The world looked at me different. Instead of people looking at me and smiling, the little white ladies smiling, they're crossing the street now. Instead of going to the toy store, you know, and going around looking at things, and I wasn't an older guy, a teenager looking at toys, but if I went in there to use the if I went in there to use the restroom, people are following me now. You see, so we go through this thing literally overnight, where the little boy in us doesn't have a chance to acclimate to what is coming at them from the world that already has a notion of what we are through racism and brainwashing, especially here in America. See? And don't have the ability to articulate yourself or speak a certain way or to even have the wisdom or be that bright kid, because now it doesn't fit what they think we should be or what we really are. And they come at us harder. So it's a lot of men out here who they've become derailed because they were raised one way, and now all of a sudden, and so many get frustrated. They begin to act out and say, okay, you think I'm a thug? I'm going to be one. See? You think I'm lazy? Well, hell, I don't have any opportunities. I'll just be lazy. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It didn't start out that way when we thought that way, but it was planted in us. And let me just say one more point. It was so funny because today I see how hard these local police officers here in Orlando, the Orlando Police Department, OPD, or Orange County Sheriff Department, how hard they try now to mix with the little kids that are playing on the playgrounds. Several times I'm at red lights and I saw this happen, and I've been seeing it a lot over the last few months. But how hypocritical can that be when the very gun that you let them put the tip of their finger on while you hold it safely, which is cool, that same gun, when that child who might be 8 years old or 9 years old, you let 10 years go by, that might be the same gun, unfortunately, that kills that same child.
Wow.
And here you on a playground and playing so innocent, while that little child's older brother is locked up, getting treated so bad, whether they did something for survival or did something wrong or not, as far as robbing a bank or robbing somebody. I'm not talking about rape and raping kids. They can burn in that place. They can stay in there. I'm not sympathetic towards somebody who does something, but a person who gets frustrated in this society and does something, those older brothers and sisters are locked up while you playing games with the heads of these little kids who you're going to be harassing 10 years from now with that same gun they touched will be drawn on them. You see? And this is what we have to go through on top of the normal stuff that youngsters go through. And the voids that we have. And the pains that we have. And the same hurts that we have that go unnoticed. Because we have this other thing dumped on us. So this is why with my brothers and sisters out in the street, I know why I'm placed there as a bus driver. so I can go out amongst the people. And it's wonderful getting paid to do that, but I'm not looking for money, but at least I don't have to go back out again. And if it was required of me, yes, I would do that. If I couldn't do that on my job, I'll still come out. But Constance, you just don't know. And I'm saying it as a figure of speech because you do know how much pain and hurt is out there that needs to be dealt with. And I thank you for helping me just now with the things that you said that brought me more clarity. Because as much as I'm loved now by my beautiful wife, and as much as I'm loved by you and Brother Keston and the extended family that I have here because of the internet, sometimes I do have my moments. Sometimes I do have my moments. And I can't say a week goes by where I may not have an inclination to have a moment like that, not on a negative level, but to realize that, yes, I still need to work on this because I still have some voids.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, Lance, because I didn't know, in all honesty, how much I was still holding on to until we had that last conversation. I thought that I was at a certain place in my life. I thought that I had gotten over certain things. I thought that I had made peace with silencing my voice in a lot of situations regarding my family. If I am honest with you, family hurt is the most painful thing that I'm still wrestling with today. That's where, when I said the fear and the rejection, that's where that comes from, because I still long for a certain relationship with my grandmother. I still long for a certain relationship that I don't have with my mother. Like I know them, I talk to them, but you know how we're speaking so freely and so openly?
Yes.
I honestly do not have that with them. And not having that kind of relationship that I desire to have, it has caused me to feel a certain way about myself as well. But I realize that my relationships are out of my control. I leave it in our Heavenly Father's hands, because He makes everything clear. He makes everything right at a appointed time. So when those things came to the surface, when we spoke last, I said, oh my goodness, I didn't know I'm still hurting over this. I didn't know I'm still hurting. And all that means is that healing is a process.
Yes.
So when those things come up to the surface, let's face them and deal with them so we can cut them out. We can cut them down at the root. So it won't dredge up those feelings from the past. I can honestly say this, Lance. Writing is such a positive thing to have, and also expression. That's why I'm so thankful and grateful for you, because I was honestly allowed to get a lot off my chest in that last conversation. And I felt so vulnerable and so naked, but I also was thankful because I had an opportunity to speak my piece. We are just human beings going through this experience, having all these things, issues dumped on us from roots from family, roots from different things that occur in our life. But one thing I feel good and comfortable in knowing that I don't face these challenges alone.
That's right.
That I am just a human being in this big old universe. So that means I'm allowed to still deal with my problems. I'm allowed to understand that, yes, I still have this going on, I still have that going on, and I'm allowed to know that I am not perfect. That's why I try my best to surrender to the Most High, to follow Him. Obedience, 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 obedience. The more obedient I am to our Creator, the Most High, the more at peace I am with my life. The more the things that I cannot control do not control my current existence. I learned something new every day. That conversation was so powerful and so meaningful and so needed for additional healing in my life, additional healing in my soul. I'll tell you this, as an empath, it's a good thing to be vulnerable.
Yes.
You know, a good thing to express yourself. You know how many people, Lance, wish they could have a conversation like we're having right now and just say the things that are on their heart and not feel afraid or not feel judged?
You're so right. And they move in or under the cloak of fear. And like I told a friend of mine the other day, I said the things that have the softest insides have hard shells around them to protect that soft inside. And that's how we allow the circumstances that we've inherited from families and generational situations and curses to define us, because here we are, a clean slate. We come into this world a clean slate, and we have all of this stuff, toxic stuff, dumped on us. The toxic religions, the toxic don't talk to that one because that one did this to me years ago, and you just love everybody, but you're told who to love and who not to love. You're told how to act. This is what we do here. But your soul belongs to God, and He put it here. He put you here as a clean slate, and all you're handed is restrictions in this life. And now you go years attempting to operate under these restrictions until you realize, hopefully, that that doesn't define you and that is not you, and you don't need these fences around your life. But the most of us don't come to that realization, and we move through this precious life trapped. Some of us see beyond those fences, but we don't dare walk beyond it. We have success, fulfillment, and happiness inside us as seeds ready to grow. But we don't go outside to let the water hit us and let the soil moisten to let those seeds grow. So we have people in place oftentimes, and I can't say I've had this, but I've observed this, who they're the sentinels to continue this toxic hierarchy on. And if you dare look like you want to step outside of the fence of their control, they're there to verbally chastise you, physically threaten you back into a mindset of limitation. And how sad that is, because this is why funerals are so emotional. Because we can have people in our families that are older than us or even the same age who subscribe to those limitations. And when those funerals happen and we look at this person who helped to dump the stuff that they couldn't get away from on us, and we see how final death is, and we realize that, you know what? I didn't have to live so restricted.
Wow.
I didn't have to be afraid of going to school. I didn't have to be afraid of feeling beautiful. I didn't have to be afraid of dating someone and trusting my instincts to finding someone for myself when the time comes. And we look back on our life, on how restricted and imprisoned we were by those prior hierarchies that had nothing to do with us. And now we either have regrets or we're inspired to say, you know what? For the rest of my time, I'm going to get to know who I am.
Yeah.
And what I want. As long as the Most High signs off on it, it's okay. That I don't have to go around these other people who now, when you begin to see who you are and you begin to grow, now these people who have submitted to something that wasn't proper, they want to chastise you now. They want to call you wild. They want to call you crazy. They want to say, why are you doing this now? And it's all positive stuff in order for you to find yourself. So many of us are lost in the definition of who we are by someone else who can't even get their own damn act together.
Now that is so powerful. And what's keeping many of us in that same mind frame is fear.
Exactly.
It's fear. But the more you do, you'll realize that fear is an illusion. In my life, I grew up just in programming my mind. Fear was like at the beginning. Fear was such a huge thing. It was such a huge thing. It's like a huge thing in my bloodline. But every time you step out, you take your power back. Every time you say no, and no, a lot of the time, Lance, for me, has meant walking the journey alone.
Yes.
I will not become who you say I should become. I will become who the Most High says I should become. Now, it's going to hurt when you're walking this journey alone. It's going to be a lot of pain that comes to the surface when you are when you're walking, but you must do it because it is your birthright to live not according to the short thinking and the shortcomings of man, but according to the ultimate will of our Creator in heaven. Who will you be if you limit yourself to what other people say you should be? Who will you be if you only listen to other people? Will you not give in your own brain? You're not going to always make the right decisions, but make a decision and make sure it is yours. Because on this path to ascension, you will learn, you will grow, and don't be afraid of your pain. Acknowledge it so that you can overcome it. Don't let nobody, this is the question, who is writing your story right now? Who is writing your story? Because many people let somebody else write their story. They let demons, they let family members. If the Most High has a story for you, has a life for you, has a thought process to who you should become, acknowledge that and not the lower, not what other people want, what demons want. Do not let the enemy write your story. You are responsible for yourself. And when you meet our Creator, you will have to answer. So be obedient. Obedience is hard. Obedience means not indulging into wickedness, into alcohol, into bad foods, because they mess up your thought process. They steal your energy. They take you off focus. It means not indulging into sex. Don't squander your body around. Not indulging into things that are not going to replenish you and make you better. That's my question for anyone who's listening. Who is writing your story? Question that, because if somebody else is writing your story besides the Most High, you are a co-creator because you have to accept responsibility. If somebody else is writing your story, you grab that book right now and you refuse that path.
I don't know what I'm going to put at the beginning of this video. I don't know. This is just so much. Listen, Every Thursday night.
Lance, I didn't know how long we went.
Oh, no. I'm not even watching the time. I'm in the zone. This comes to a close when you're ready. I mean, because we're always going to do this, but I'm sitting here absorbing what you're saying, and it's like righteous body blows that feed me, you know. And I grew up on conversation. I grew up as a child overhearing my parents, and right there, not just having to overhear them, but right there, and they talk freely, and it was very advanced. And I understand that conversation is a bonding thing. It's a thing that feeds into you when you can look in someone's face while they're expressing themselves and they're passionate about how they express themselves. And so this is why I can tirelessly do this day in and day out, because it's a joy to give that to others, whatever's inside of me. I don't know everything, but whatever's there on a level of wisdom, level of entertaining and making you laugh and make you drop your guard and come boom, hit you with a lesson, whatever it is, I want to leave it here on the earth, on this level. Because Miles Monroe, Pastor Miles Monroe, he always had a saying that he said, you must die empty. And I believe that you cannot go on to the next level and have something inside you that was for this level. You can't do it. You have to die empty. And people who have a level of understanding will know what he meant. I met him one time, never shook his hand because I was sitting back 3 or 4 rows from where he spoke, but we locked eyes a couple of times as he spoke. And I didn't know the magnitude of that man, how much he accomplished on a righteous level. I didn't know who he was.
I loved him.
Yes.
Don't you know I was supposed to, the week that he died, don't you know he was coming back? It was like close to November. He was supposed to come to Charlotte, and I was going to see him.
Wow.
For the first time.
Wow.
The week before he passed away, he had a speaking engagement at a church that I was affiliated with. And I was going to see, he's a mentor to me. Like, his teachings are so far beyond. He also had a saying that there are a lot of people that went to the grave that, like you said, don't go to the grave empty.
Right.
They'll go to the grave full. Or I'm sorry.
Well, I know exactly what you mean, because he had a lot of these sayings, and they would strike you. And when I think I did a video or I wrote something about him. But I remember being right here in the same studio, my little bedroom that's converted to a studio. And I was telling my wife about how he affected me, and I couldn't help but cry. I mean, this was long after, maybe a few weeks after. And I wanted her to hear this clip. And I don't know if she knew that I wrote the story or did the video, because I'd pop off so much stuff that she can't keep up sometimes. And as I was speaking, I couldn't help it. And I loved that man. And he put something in my heart. And again, I say that we're the sum total of all of the people that we ever met, all the experiences that we've ever had. And it's a responsibility that we have all these unique things inside of us. We have to share it in our own way.
Yes.
You know, because your path and my path have great similarities, and many of our paths will have great similarities of pain and joy, happiness and sorrow. But it's up to us in our own unique way to cook it up and present it to the world, because the way I cook chicken might be a little bit different than the way you cook chicken. And they may come to your restaurant and say, you know what, Warrior Constant, she just blows Scurv away. He can't cook chicken. And there's somebody who says, I prefer Lance's chicken because whatever. But we have to share our own personal experiences. If we do that more now these days, we will take back the control from these mega churches who prostitute the people, prostitute what they call the flock. If we have that hands-on, in the trenches every day, I'm here with you kind of bond, there's no devil in the pulpit. that can reach those who are in need and use them for their own benefit. You see? And to me, that's really what it's all about. Reaching out where we are in our path. In our path. If you go and deal with what's in your path every single day righteously, the way it should be done, that's a great work right there. Just with those who touch you, meaning that the ones you come into contact with. And that will go out into the world if you do that every single day. Of course, I deal with great numbers on my job, but sometimes I can't believe the amount of people that I run into all over where I travel who, and I'm not saying this because I'm some great person. I'm just saying that you do a little bit every day and it will go out into the world in a great way.
It will.
Yes.
It will.
On the external?
Because you have the courage to tell your testimony, your story.
Yes.
Going back to what you were speaking of earlier of your first marriage, you don't know how many men or how many women are going to be positively affected and can relate to that and can draw strength from your courage and sharing.
Especially the men. Yeah. I'm not putting down the women. I'm just saying that in this society, you know, men are not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to be emotional. Look, I might be 54 years old, but I'll go 3 rounds with anybody. I might lose. I think I'm kind of tough, but I'll cry in a heartbeat. See, I'm not afraid to be emotional. I'm not going to be emotionally constipated. That is wrong. That makes so many of us contemplate suicide, have nervous breakdowns. We cannot be rigid that way. We've got to be in touch. We can't be afraid to ask our brothers for help. Yes, professional help by all means. But in the meantime, listen, I need to talk. I'm hurting about something. Some men get around other men who all they talk about is the physical attributes of women, and they grin and bear it and laugh and chuckle, but there's pain in their heart. That one brother who's there who wants somebody to talk to on a deeper level. Because maybe he hasn't seen his kids in years, but they live in the same neighborhood. Maybe something's going on with his fiance or his wife, and he suspects something, and now he knows, and he feels less than a man. You're not less than a man because of a woman who didn't commit to you and still wants to run around. But we don't reach out to each other, and we need to love each other. Really love each other. And look, even aside from a person's, what they say is sexuality, you know, it's not like taking a suit off of the rack and saying, well, you know, I want to wear a size this and I want to be this and that. No. But on the same token, while others may say you're so rigid with the way you think, no, it's either or. God made man and God made woman. That's it. Exactly. But my gay brothers and lesbian sisters, I still love you. I know that there's something that you're going through, but I can still love you as a human being and as your brother. And I wouldn't want to see any one of us take their life because they didn't have somebody to talk to. First of all, it's that triage going on. That ambulance shows up, and I like to use that example. There's somebody who is having a heart attack. There's another person who has a iron stake driven through their leg, their thigh. They're screaming, but we can't tend to you first. We have to go to that guy who is having a heart attack. The other guy who had a bullet go through his head and you see his brains all over the place, well, we can't deal with that right now. He's already gone. We have to save the ones that we can save, and the ones who can make it until we can get around to them, they're going to have to make it until. But we too, as empaths, have to also make sure that our charge doesn't go down too low, because we'll be no good to anyone.
Right. I'm so glad that you mentioned men speaking up, because I know so many men that are just holding back. They wanna cry. You know, Lance, that is such a powerful thing for you to be able to express yourself, you to be able to cry, you to be able to, that is more, to me, that's very manly. You're owning everything within you.
Yes.
That's powerful. And I want more men to be able to do that, because those tears release. That talk releases.
Mm-hmm.
And it also heals. And going back to healing being a process, hey, people, nobody's perfect. But if you can embrace your imperfect brother as you are imperfect as well, and just be willing to listen to someone, you don't know what difference that's going to make in their life.
That's right.
And you're affirming them, and don't put them down. Too many people put men down for expressing. No. Why do you think like you said, you have serial killers out here. You have people out here having nervous breakdowns. You know why? Because they're dealing with this pain that nobody knows about. They're struggling on the inside, cooking, boiling like water on top of a stove, and nobody knows. But this is the thing. Don't cry. Don't cry when you go to their funeral.
Right.
Because you could have sit there and picked up their phone call and listened to them for 20 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Don't post that picture on Facebook talking about cousin so-and-so when cousin so-and-so was texting you and calling you and you never responded. Don't be that person to someone that you know is struggling and needs healing. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be a therapist. You just have to have an open heart and an open ear. And maybe say a couple of prayers. And maybe also just be quiet and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs somebody to listen to them, because your feelings are valid. You mean something to somebody. Somebody, please pick up that call. If you're not going to pick up that call, don't post that picture, because you're being fake if you do that.
I feel like the dude who went into Mickey D's and ordered some nuggets. I ordered 5 and I got 20.
Mm-hmm.
I got more than what I could have ever anticipated in this conversation. And we're just getting started as far as what we do every week. Mm-hmm. And when you find yourself free, don't hesitate. Let me check and see if Lance is up.
This conversation is good.
we could throw a little 30 minutes here, a little 15 minutes here. We could throw another little hour here. Hey, get in where you fit in. But Thursday's always going to be, And I was so lost. I'm not going to lie.
I hope I wasn't too hyped today.
No. You could never be too hyped with me. I'm the one who was hitting the mute button, screaming, going, yes!
Lance, I was going to tell you I want you to start writing that book.
Okay, I will.
You've already written many books on your blogs and through your videos. Please start writing that book. I'm going to
start
providing a lot of healing.
It's going to be a lot of books, though. You know what I mean? It's not just going to be one book. There's so many aspects.
All you got to do is get the first one out, though.
That's true.
That's the thing.
That's true.
Once you get the first one out, don't worry about all the other ones that's going to come.
That's true.
Once that first one get out and you get that done, everything else is
a wrap.
Easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right. And now I'm not a person who procrastinates. It's just that it's so much. And my thing, going back to the former marriage, when I was told that I was lazy, when I was told that I was fat, unattractive, the things that I was told, and
you were told that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, just all of you know. I mean, over and over and over and over. I mean, really a lot. And here I am, a dude who won a national bodybuilding competition back in my younger days, absorbing this from a person who doesn't have much esteem on their own. I'm not saying that as a put down, but when you really look at it, it's like, wow, you know, it's almost like you are cursed by certain people or despised because of the positivity that you have inside you, because of that light, like we said earlier, and they despise it, and they will be attracted to you and want to come into your life just to have a ringside seat next to you to snuff your light out. And then if you get away, here comes the character assassination even more. And so for me, right, me doing all this, what I do, and I said it once or twice before in other conversations, and I couldn't pinpoint which one, but this is a way of me talking to my kids on deeper levels in case I'm not here. And for the time that I lost out with them, it's like, you can't stop me from telling my story. You can't stop me from expressing myself, because it will be appreciated by them, and I have no problem sharing it with the world. And that's a very big motivational part of it for me. And also that for all the things that was said about me, which I really don't concern myself now with it, but it has been a really great feeling to show otherwise. Like that fighter who wasn't given a shot, or he was given a shot to get into the ring, but he wasn't given a shot to win the fight. And not only did I win the fight, but I won every round convincingly. And that's from my assessment. To come from a nervous breakdown in August of 2003, where I was completely exhausted, mind, body, spirit, emotions, and soul. Supervisor called me for work one morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was working from my regular shift from 2:30 to about, 10:45. And I would go in early for extra hours of overtime. Because the situation there was so bad, arguments and cops being called on me, and he hit me. And it's like, God, it never happened, right? Well, the trauma's there. One morning, Sergeant Belcher, his first name is Lance. We used to call each other Lance. We didn't do the formal thing. We didn't understand what that was all about. Older white man. Hey, Lance, how you doing, Lance? He called me. He said, Lance. I said, yes, Sergeant Belcher. He says, you want to come in? And I never, ever refused overtime. I was one of the dudes in the jail who worked the most. When he asked me that, I started crying. I started crying hard. And they knew what I was going through. And he said, Lance, say no more. We want you to take some time off. Don't worry about paperwork. We'll start out with a month. I'm going to say this to you. You know we care for you. We know what you're going through and what you have been going through. And we're here for you. And we're going to check up on you later on. Go back and sleep. Get something to eat. And if you need to come out of your apartment, because I was in an apartment at the time, then come on out. And many of those who I worked with, even though there were a lot of haters in that place, there were some who sprung into action, took me away from that atmosphere, had me bunk out by their place. It was wonderful. In hindsight, I was going through a lot, but it was wonderful to see how people who didn't even claim to be Christian, some of these jokers, they were womanizers and drinking problems, and you know what I mean? But there was a light in them that may not have been fully developed, but they saw something in me and reached out. And long after the fact, they ever hear this, thank you. You saved my life. There's another brother who gave me lots of advice. He's retired from there now, but he's on my Instagram, Michael Francis, and he's still doing powerlifting. And he used to really feed me a lot with good stuff on the inside. So it doesn't always have to come from the saved and sanctified, speaking in tongues type of person. Love can come from anywhere, even from a person who may appear to be hateful or act that way. There's that moment, and I know we're wrapping it down soon, but there's that moment when we realize that we're all human, that these superficial garments that we wear of personality and status in this world, and all of these things that the world tells us that we are, means nothing. It means nothing. When you have a loved one that possibly you've had a medical scare with, that you thought you would lose them, and you realize nothing else matters except them and who they are to you. We have to keep thinking that way and realize what's really important. Because this world will clog you up and have you feeling things that you shouldn't be feeling. Have you thinking things that you shouldn't be thinking. All of this baggage and stuff that is not nutritional to the soul and not bonding to each other. You put the grease in the pan and try to fry the egg's not going to stick to the pan because of the grease. You have people who are so caught up in their possessions and status in this world, and they can't ever bond because that comes between them. Shed that stuff. Yes, you can have it, but don't let it come between you and the next human being, because your experience now is reduced because you have no connection. I love when I take that day out of the week and I leave my cell phone. I leave my car. I take a walk, sometimes for miles. Hop on a bus like any old person. And get away from, not the wonderful home or life I have, but get away from the status. And I don't think of myself highly like, and yes, I know I'm made by the best and the most high, and I have a mission, and I'm divine, and I'm talented, and I'm pretty, and I'm handsome. No, I'm just playing my Muhammad Ali voice. But to get away from what this world defines you as. See, it's very refreshing, and it's like a purge. It's like having that one day where you drink your prune juice. It keeps you grounded. And we need to stay grounded, because I understand now why. When I see people who are getting to be elderly and getting older, and I'm moving more now into the upper echelons of my middle age, that the joy is gone for most because they've been doing this thing wrong. I'm trying to brush off anything of this world from getting on me that's not going to bring me up. Yeah. And like you said, how you like to go out into the woods and stuff. And oh, I love the woods. I love nature. I love getting away from the people that don't want to work on themselves. I love the ones who want help and who want to work on themselves. I will always help them as long as my batteries internally as an empath stay charged. Oh, but I love, that's the ultimate, because the animals and the insects and the trees give of themselves wholeheartedly. And you don't have to wonder how you stand with them. It is so pure. If they want to bite you, you know they want to bite you. Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to come and smile and say they're your friend and turn around and bite you. They're growling and they're coming after you. One of the most beautiful things that I like to do, one of my secret pet peeves, is to go out there in the yard and pull the lawn chair way back into its flat and lay down on my stomach with my chin on the top of the chair, looking at the ground, 1 foot away from the ground, and watching the order of the ants as they build and work together. They work in unison. And I yearn for that in my life. And that's why I'm glad that I have you in my life. Because I can always look forward to our Thursday night, Friday morning conversations that we share with the world as we work in unison to create something in a synergistic level bigger than the both of us. But those ants, I love them. I could see one struggling with something going to the anthill, and I'll reach down and put it where they want and pick up the ant too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I'm into this.
I know that must be something beautiful to watch.
Oh, yes.
This is the thing. We got to get out in nature, and nature is where we belong. And I kind of honestly, I was listening to one of your messages recently when you said you were wanting to go off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is my dream, to go off the grid, to live apart from what society says I should be. You know, working ourselves almost to death.
Yes.
For somebody else sometimes. It stifles you to a certain degree. I can't say you, but I'm just saying in general for me.
Yes, me too.
It's stifling to not always be free and live, just be free and do things freely. But when I go to the lake and walk those trails, I smell that fresh air. I see the birds chirping. You know, you see the ants. You see the sunrise. I see that beautiful water, how the sun hits the water. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a touch of heaven. If I was feeling depressed that day, if I was feeling bad, it's like I am one.
Yes.
And I just want that feeling like all the time. All the time.
It should be 24/7, but we have been born into a system that's compromised and not conducive to life. It's a death style. We're cattle. We're bred.
But Lance, with the food that we're eating.
Yes.
Even the good food has pesticides and all kind of stuff.
Yes.
You don't grow it yourself. It's packed down with all kind of things that can be chemicals that can be harmful to your body.
Yes.
And then we're in traffic a lot of times. We're at work. We're eating these certain foods. We're breathing in chemtrails in the air.
Yeah.
It's like society has set us up to be almost mini robots.
That's all we are.
To go a certain way. It's almost like we're going down an assembly line. They're putting us together, programming us, coming off that assembly line and doing specifically what they called us to do. And it's a sad thing. I've always been trying to break free from that. That's why I don't have a lot of debt. I don't believe in having a lot of
exactly.
Debt. That's just me personally, because I always wanted to be free.
Right.
Not like a nomad per se, but free. If I want to jump up and work in another country,
right,
I want to be free to go.
Exactly.
You know?
That is my personal goal, and I won't put it out there, but it's not very long before I'm there. It's not very long.
Awesome.
We'll say it's not weeks or months, it's years, but it's not many years. It's not many years at all. Very few. More than two and very few.
I was looking to those little houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can buy little plots of land. I watched that on YouTube. You can buy little plots of land, purchase the land outright. My father has land back at home. I was thinking about just getting me a little mini house, honestly. I have family members that are builders, and my dad already has owned several acres of land. I would just want to build me a little house and work a nice little job, but I wouldn't have to, I don't have to be obligated to so much debt till I feel like I have to go in this place. If I can live small and efficiently, and I can live a more freer life, then that's what I want.
Sister?
Everybody tells you, go out, and this is what my goal was: go out and get that huge mortgage for half.
No, you don't want that.
Go ahead
No.
and get this. But Lance, I always wondered. I thought I was weird because I never wanted the things of this earth. I couldn't explain it, and like my family is into things. Gotta have nice houses, nice cars. They're all in, especially on my dad's side. And they're good people. They live very well.
Right.
They got pretty good bit of money, good money and everything. I don't know my mom's side a whole lot in depth, but they're good too. But I've never been into things. I always wanted my freedom.
See, but
I wanted to be
yes.
able to leave at any time if I wanted to leave this place.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out and live somewhere the way I wanted to live.
I
didn't know how it was going to manifest. But
let me tell you
about this land. I said, my dad has this land. Why don't I build me a small house on this land?
need to do that. But let me tell you something. We're going to have this conversation publicly, but as far as that's concerned, that's where we're going. That's where we're going. It's so funny that you'd say that because that is the way. That is the way for people like us. That is the way. And you are so on point.
And having your own garden.
Listen,
your own
yes.
I want to get myself. I'm not completely off meat.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get myself off of meat.
It will happen.
You know how much stuff is weighing us down in this artificial food, or this genetically modified meat, clone meat,
steroided up.
How many people have cancer, diabetes? People are dying off because they're addicted to this stuff and they don't want to break away from it.
That's right.
But the Most High will tell you, either you break away from it and be obedient, or it's going to mean your life. Lance, I'm just tired of being in this and feeling like I'm trapped and I'm obligated and I'm in a place where I don't really belong.
See,
so I was thinking about it. I was looking at stuff yesterday. I was like, my dad got all this land. I need to build me a house. I'm sure he wouldn't. I'm sure he would be like, okay, if you would have, or either maybe I could purchase a piece of land from him or something.
You need to do just that. That is the only way. And I'm going to say it like this. You purchase your land and own it straight out. If it's in the country or away from the urban thing going on, the taxes are going to be low. There are ways to build even cheaper. And I'm not going to put it out there as of yet. It's not a secret, but I got to turn you on to something that will blow your mind and you'll run toward that, because right now we were running toward that. And that's what keeps me joyous, knowing that at 54 years old, my freedom is around the corner, financially, spiritually. Yeah, I know it. And so that's why I'm enthusiastic, because I'm not thinking, well, I'm going to finish paying off of this house when I'm 85 and maybe no. I guess I'll.
I find that sad. It's a lot of.
It is sad, isn't it?
Yeah, because people want to look good in front of people. They want to look good and, I got this big house and all this.
Not me.
But the thing is like you want to look good in front of people, but you're drowning in debt. Like, that's not cool.
No, it's not.
We're going off into another conversation. We might do this another day.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing, right? Yeah. But yeah.
Far off.
I just gotta say one more thing on that. It's crazy how many of us in the world, and as Americans and then as Black people, brag about the debt we have. But we yearn for freedom, but we sure love that debt. How is it being free, or how is it a good thing to have a big behind mortgage that you're paying every month, and you are trapped, whether it's big or small? It's hanging over your head. And the way it works with taxes, being taxed when you get paid, being taxed when you get to the store, that why can't I get up one morning and say, you know what? Let's go to Czechoslovakia. Or let's go to the airport and do a eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick a country to go to. And then when we get there, because we have some sort of financial system or bartering system set up that keeps us in the cash we need, we don't have to make several $1 million. Someone hijacked the relationship that we have or had with God, meaning that you go out way in the forest, deep in the woods, the tropics, anywhere. There are fruits growing on trees waiting for you to eat that drop off. God didn't even make it where, the fruits are way up 20 feet high and them bad boys fall. Like, please eat me.
And they're not genetically modified.
Exactly. and there are things growing.
People are so crazy. Look at the food they're eating.
Right. And not only that, but the genetically modified food people are paying for. And they're paying for the right to be stacked up on top of other people, close together in a very unnatural way. We should all have enough land to sustain us, and we should have enough space between us that when we see each other, we are so daggone glad to see each other. Mm-hmm. Because we have that peace of mind and space. And look, you don't see animals with mental issues that are out in the wild. Usually, you don't see crazy people, they may be a little eccentric, that are out in the woods living good. They might be talkative because they're not used to being around people. Like that little old white man who, and let me help you out with this. Let me tell you about this. And sometimes you see him and say, oh, God, I don't have 5 hours to talk to this guy. But he's mentally healthy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's artificial to live so close to people where you have to use pipes to pull out their feces from the general area. Their cars are packed up. You have a car that can go 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, but you're sitting in traffic, creeping at 2 miles an hour, breathing in fumes. Mm-hmm. Road rage. What is that? Where'd that come from?
Going to a job that you probably hate, but you have to go there because you have to pay this huge mortgage, this huge car payment, or whatever other credit cards. You all purchase these things just so when you can
with
see your
interest
family on the holidays, they can say, hey, so-and-so has a big house over there. Meanwhile, so-and-so house is empty on the inside because they can't even afford furniture.
And it's empty on the inside. And it's empty on the inside because the family members don't see each other unless it's 3 o'clock in the morning in the bathroom. Because one works in the morning, one works across town and has to live 2 or 3 nights away, and nobody has the same schedule. Nobody sits around the table and has a meal in the evening where they all can talk about their day. See, there are a lot of things that are pulled away from our life right now that will make us mentally stressed and send us to the crazy house. I hate to say it that way, but we think that this is success. And now the dollar is so weakened now, and we got to jump through hoops twice as much, and it never happens. I see people. I saw a coworker yesterday. I heard him. He sat next to me, and he was speaking to somebody next to him, and he had it all planned out about his retirement. He has it all planned out. He's going to work for another 6 years. Now, let me tell you something. Maybe I might not be here tomorrow, but when you see the photo of this particular driver, that when they get compliments on the board, they put the photo up. But the photo is not a current photo. The photo is the photo they snapped of you when you got hired. So this must have been like about 20 years ago for this guy. He looks like a different person. He looks like he aged 50 years. The man can hardly walk. The man looks bad, terrible, no enthusiasm, no light coming from him. Yet you're planning a retirement that I hope it's not this way, but I've seen it too much that you might not even live to see. How are you going to? Yeah.
You've been working all your life at a job apparently that stifled him to some sort of degree, or maybe not the job, maybe it's his personal life, all that time to work for a retirement that he may not even see.
Look, I'm not hoping this. We're just talking real here, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I told you about the guy who on my job had a long commute to where he had a place to stay, like some room or something, but it was so far away because he couldn't really afford to live here in Orlando. And he didn't always go out there. He would crash by a friend's couch. And when he couldn't do that, he would sleep in his car at the work parking lot. And he worked so much. He had these goals. He wasn't a kid, but he wasn't an older man either. But, well, he's older by most people's standard. I think it was in his early 50s, right? But he decided not to go anywhere. It's like he's going to crash in the car because they have the showers, the bathrooms, and lockers and stuff, and lounges and TVs and computers. You can live on the job. Well, he was out there and took his little nap. And folks didn't realize that the car's been sitting there for like 2 days. He was sitting in there dead. At work.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's why.
Did they reveal how he died?
It was a heart attack.
Wow.
And he'd always park way off in the corner. So, he didn't want people looking down in his face or whatever. Had dark tinted windows. But I think it was time for him to work. And one of the supervisors went out there to tap on the car because that was like kind of like the secret deal that I know he's not really living anywhere. He has a room somewhere 2 counties over, but it's too far. Say, hey, man, you gotta get to work in 2 hours, man. And so he'd shower and do what he had to do. And you're sacrificing, the now. You got to have a little joy every day. The joy of that meal cooked in love. The joy of that sunset or that sunrise. The joy of that extra 5 minutes of sleep. The joy of just walking in the soil and feeling the dirt under your feet. Don't step on the ants now. Just the simple joys. Every day. And I have to say that, I'm there. Even when I make a video when I'm sounding angry, you got to perform and entertain a little bit. But I get to do things from the heart, and I thank God for that. I thank God for this conversation. This is bringing me more light. I'm living and experiencing. I don't let what I have to deal with in the street dictate how I feel toward the life that God gave me. Oh, trust me, Warrior Constance.
That's powerful, Lance.
There's things that I have to go through out there. But look, I did 10 hours and 16 minutes earlier today. I ran some chores, had my bank accounts hacked into, had my cell phone hacked into, had to deal with all of these phone calls and trips to the bank and trips to T-Mobile and all this stuff. But I loved it because I'm alive. Wow. It's part of the challenge.
Beautiful outlook. That's such a beautiful outlook.
And I know you're winding down, so I'm going to let you, because you know what? I have no problem with it. I'm in one of them zones. I will talk your ears off until lunchtime. Trust me.
I think I'm a, turn in.
Yes. That's why I'm going to have you.
What time is it?
It's
5 o'clock?
Yes, it's 5:04. And like I said, I'm free, but I don't want to throw off the rhythm, and I don't want you to be scared to get on with me on Thursday nights.
No, I'm not.
But what I want you to do, like I always do, I want you to have the final word. And when you're done, I'm going to pause it right there. And that's where this particular segment will end. Take as much time as you want, whatever you need to retire to your slumber empty, as Brother Miles Monroe would say. So take it away from me, sweetheart.
Wow, man. Like, this conversation was so needed. It was very captivating to me because I learned a lot. I learned even more about just life in general. So with that being said, I say thank you. Thank you for your attitude towards life. Thank you for your service. Thank you for this platform, for everyone that's going to listen in and get something positive and encouraging from it. I say thank you because it's needed. We need these conversations. We need honesty. We need to have our batteries filled up. Never quite letting it get where the phone is cut off, like you said earlier.
Yes.
As empaths, we must be respectful of our hearts, minds, bodies, and souls, and we must be watchful, but we must also, as you said so eloquently throughout the night, celebrate life. No matter what happens, no matter if your account does get hacked into, celebrate life. Don't let the negativity influence you to be negative. Let your light shine regardless of the people that come out of your life. Honor your time. Honor yourself. And most of all, celebrate life. We don't know when this journey will end. It's okay if you don't have everything together. It's okay if you may be in a state of brokenness. It's okay if you're still struggling through things. Hey, I am. It's okay. Just be willing to confront yourself and move forward. Celebrate your life. Nobody else will. Take care of your heart. Nurture your mind. Feed yourself things that are going to be a blessing to your mind, body, and spirit. And know that you are a warrior, no matter where you're at in your life. The past is the past. Move forward with courage, victory, and love.
Make sure to check out the Boldest blog at LanceScurv.com and follow Scurv on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube under LanceScurv.